Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. Now, Turkey is hosting Saudi Arabia's foreign minister in Ankara for high-level talks, as both sides seek to deepen coordination on regional stability with escalating crises in the Middle East, including the war involving Iran. Now, the meeting comes at a time when Ankara is simultaneously expanding its diplomatic reach across various areas and has recently unveiled its new domestically produced intercontinental ballistic missile. So, what does all this mean? Well, that's what we'll analyze now with our guests, and we're joined by Konrad Zasztowt, lecturer, Faculty of Oriental Studies at the University of Warsaw. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
Hello.
So let's begin with this visit. Turkey and Saudi Arabia, they've had a falling out some years back. What is the significance of this visit? How are those relations going to change now?
Yes, so already for some time we see kind of serious rapprochement between Turkey and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because indeed in the past the relations were much different, and there were some serious problems, especially after the murder of Saudi journalist in Istanbul. But in recent years, the relations are good and even better because of the geopolitical situation in the region. So generally, Turkey was looking for better relationship with all the big countries in the Middle East, excluding, of course, Israel, which is, we can say already, it's the biggest enemy of Turkey at the moment. But when we look at Egypt, at the Gulf states, at Saudi Arabia, so these relationships are really good now. And from the side of those countries, Arab countries, they also need Turkey, I think, especially. The process started even before the current conflict in the Persian Gulf. But what we see now is that the United States, the country which guaranteed security of those Gulf states, now we see that these security guarantees are not sufficient. So that's why they are looking for some kind of alliance and help from Turkey.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of the region as well, if we look at Turkey under Erdogan trying very much to project more in terms of playing various sides. I mean, they're also NATO, but they've also opened dialogue with other countries, as you said, also critical of Israel. So are these sides now compatible? I mean, is Turkey here the, let's say, multi-power broker? Is Saudi Arabia going to align more again with them? What does this do also with Iran and with other actors in the region?
Yes, I think so, and especially the role of Iran is also changing quickly. So already since the fall of the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, so it was kind of an ally or vassal state of Iran. Since then, Iran has no influence in this, let's say, Levant region, so Syria, Lebanon. Even the Hezbollah, the ally of Iran, is much weaker than it used to be. So now, who is filling this void? It's actually Turkey. Turkey is becoming more and more influential in the Middle East region, you know, Saudi Arabia is a country which is a very rich country, but maybe not that strong when we look from the military angle. And Turkey is opposite. Turkey has some serious economic problems, but when we look at the military power, when we look at the military industry, Turkey is a leading country. Not only in the Middle East region, but also when we compare potential of Turkey and the European states.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that military layer for a moment, particularly with Turkey. And as I read in the intro, this is something that the Turks have now unveiled, this new ICBM missile. speed of Mach 25, also a range of 6,000 kilometers. Not every country can produce an ICBM. So what does this do for Turkey's industry and its position right now where we see it?
Well, I would answer generally. I'm not a specialist on missiles, but I would say generally the defense industry in Turkey is really expanding in many sectors. So including missiles, of course. It started from the UAVs, drones. We remember the role of Bayraktar TB2 in the first stage of the war in Ukraine, but also other weapons. So tanks. So also they are working on fifth generation steel fighter, Khan. So they have many sectors in which they try to achieve something new.
Mm-hmm. It just comes to mind because I mean, Turkey has also sold certain types of weapon systems to Ukraine. Do you think that they might make some of this new hardware available to the Ukrainians?
Yes, and also I forgot to mention also the. For example, maritime UAVs. They are also good at this, and this is also what they sell to Black Sea countries, including Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. All right. So looking also wider region now, looking at what's happened in Armenia these last few days. Over 48 leaders. I mean, this is very much Europe focused. But also we had the presence of the foreign minister of Turkey in Armenia, I think one of the first high-level visits since around 2008. So that's quite significant. So what's Turkey's role? I mean, they've always had a close relation with Azerbaijan next door. With Armenia, it's new. So tell us how the strategy here has shifted for Turkey.
Before this, let's say, Armenian-Azeri conflict was an obstacle in European-Turkish relations because for many reasons European countries were supporting Armenia, not Azerbaijan, but now it changed because simply the conflict is almost finished. So now. In Baku, they are very much for finishing the conflict. Maybe not in such a pace as Yerevan would like, because Yerevan is waiting for this final signature of the peace treaty. Now it's already ready and signed in last year in Washington by President Aliyev and Prime Minister Pashinyan, but they're still waiting for this final signature and acceptance by the parliaments of ratification by the parliaments of both countries. But practically the conflict is over. So now it's also time for a better relationship between Turkey and Armenia. So Turkey was ready even before to open the border, to restart the diplomatic relationship with Armenia, but it was still waiting for the green light from Baku. Now I think this green light from Baku is already there. So also the conflict between the European Union, European states and Turkey in this Caucasian aspect, I think it's already history.
Mm-hmm. But also looking at what's not history yet, a new leaf of the European Union, very much trying to invest heavily now in Armenia, in Azerbaijan. We had Meloni also visit Azerbaijan next door just a few days ago. That kind of soft power, that investment by Europe, is that going to complement what Turkey is doing? Will they vie for influence here? How is that going to play out?
No, I think it's complementary, especially taking into account that Turkey is willing to, let's say, to be active in the Caucasian region, to have its business enterprises there, especially construction sector. So when it comes to this building of this infrastructure related to the Trump Road for Peace and Prosperity, so this corridor, trade corridor linking Azerbaijan, Armenia, Nakhichevan part of Azerbaijan, and then Turkey. So I think there will be many construction firms from Turkey involved in this, but when it comes to investments, this is a bigger problem for Turkey, which still has serious economic problems. So in this aspect, I think the Europeans will be needed there.
Okay, and just the last line.
And the Americans, of course.
Okay, and just the last line. Erdogan said this just a few days ago. Europe needs Turkey more than Turkey needs Europe. Is he right?
Well, at this point, to some extent, I can agree with him because when we look particularly at this one problem, which is the defense production sector, which is still not developed in I mean, it is developed in many big countries like Italy, like Spain, like Great Britain or France. But in the times of war in Ukraine, it should be developed more. And in this particular sector, I think Turkey achieved more than the European states in recent years.
Interesting stuff. So thanks for all that. That was Konrad Zasztowt, lecturer from the Faculty of Oriental Studies, University of Warsaw. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.